Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. We're here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. We're here with Greg Harris, the director, and we're also here with Shep Gordon. Hey, thank you so much for taking a few moments. Can you you've done so much, and you've brought so many people to popularity. I mean, you were involved with artists like Teddy Pendergrass, Blondie, Squeeze, George Clinton, Pink Floyd, the Pointer Sisters. Talk about a highlight, one highlight in your life that you're so proud of, because we're so proud of so many moments.
There's been so many. I mean, I think the Alice's band getting in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was a magic moment, something almost surrealistic. But there have been so many. I've had a blessed life and worked with great artists, and so great to walk around here and see moments of my life flash past me.
Talk about that. Who have you seen? What exhibits have you seen?
I just heard Jonathan Demme has a movie playing here, and I did Stop Making Sense with him, so that brought back a bunch of memories. Blondie, a lot of memories. Jimi Hendrix, a lot of memories. Just all over the place, so many memories.
How did you manage to be in the right place at the right time at so many points in rock and roll history? Because you were really ahead of the curve. I mean, these things were not super popular or obvious at the time.
Some would say the wrong place at the right time. But, I don't know. It just was that time, and I just did what I felt what was right and what felt good. And it was so different back then. The economy of scale was so different. The first time Alice headlined the Garden, it was $1.50 ticket. So it wasn't the economic pressure and game that it is now. It was truly a creative, rebellious, doing something our parents didn't want us to do, not becoming lawyers, not becoming doctors, so it just was a natural evolution.
Were you ever the guy that was looked at by these young artists as someone who was trying to sort of commercialize them, bring them into the mainstream? Did they fight you a little bit when you said, hey, I think this could be bigger than it is, and let's do this or let's do that? Were you like the bad guy in some scenes?
It's funny. I mean, my job was to be honest, and honesty sometimes can be really painful. But I never really had, when I started to work with the chefs, I had one moment, I will leave the chef's name out, but I had one moment like that where I was very focused on trying to get chefs royalties, like musicians, for their recipes. And I got the Rainforest Cafe to agree to take 4 celebrity chefs, use their dishes, give them a big advance, and pay them a royalty. And one of the chefs has gone on to be very, 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 very famous. Got a fee that was larger than his yearly salary for one recipe, and never forgave me. He said after he took the money and the percentage, and he said, "You have no respect for what I do for a living. How could you put my food in a place like that?" I will give him back the check. He didn't. But that was really my only. No, I think I never was someone who forced anyone to do anything, or put it. I would say what I felt, and if we didn't agree, they could find someone else.
So how did it work? Did you connect people with folks in the record industry, or were you just more knowing how to get them more publicity? Or
after Alice. I realized, and I was managing Groucho Marx, and not music artists, Racquel Welch, and I started with them, and I started to realize that the hardest part of a group making it is dealing with their success. And 90% of the groups were one-hit wonders because of their personalities, not because of their talent. So I was fortunate. I was a young guy in a business of old guys. I had a reputation. So after Alice, I only took acts that had top 10 records. Yeah, and had already proved that they could take the heat. And then my job, I used to tell them, was to get you to eliminate your second name. So no one said Alice who, nobody said Racquel who, nobody said Luther who, nobody. That was my goal, was to eliminate a second name.
And what was your strategy? Like, what kinds of things did you do back then that maybe couldn't even happen today because of the way the industry is?
Each case was a different case. I had some general rules, which was guilt by association. Put somebody famous next to someone, and it bleeds off. So a young artist, standing next to Elvis Presley long enough is going to be a real artist. So I used that. Great stage shows, always insistent, and every artist was different.
Did you find that it took money as well, or did you think it was more creativity and imagination and maybe hard work, or what do you really think it was?
It's a combination. It took creativity and hard work to get to a certain place. But in those days, in order to get your records played, it took money. And you couldn't jump to that next level without records. You can sort of now because of the internet. But in those days, the Rolling Stones wouldn't be the Rolling Stones, or the Beatles wouldn't be the Beatles if they didn't have hit records.
And you're talking about basically payola, or at least making sure that the right people got what they needed to like your music, right?
I don't like to use the word, but one way or the other, you had to pay. Yeah.
Well, the guy who invented the name rock and roll unfortunately had a bad experience with payola, but we know...
Alan Freed, did he invent the name? Yeah.
Alan Freed, and we know how he ended, broke, and but we can see through that here with in Cleveland with the Rock Hall. That just went on all the time. In fact, it almost became legal after that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it still does. And I think in every industry, money breeds money. They always figure out how to put a door that you can't get into unless you pay somebody. I think it's in every business.
Would you consider working with some younger acts these days, or is the business just too different? Or
I'm sort of done. I dropped out about 15 years ago. I do Alice. I do the Hollywood Vampires, which is an offshoot of Alice, and that's it.
Well, thank you so much for what you have done over the years. It's great to meet you here in Cleveland and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Thanks, Shep.
Cleveland has a special place in my heart.
Tell us.
When I went to school at the University of Buffalo, TV ended at midnight. Cleveland had all-night TV. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, Sergeant Bilko would come on. So there were 5 guys. We used to drive from Buffalo to Cleveland, take a motel room on Euclid Avenue, watch Sergeant Bilko, and drive back for classes.
Oh,
yes.
That's quite a drive.
50 times. Because that was what kids did in those days. You'd say, let's have some orange juice, you drive to Florida. So anyway, that's a special place.
That's fabulous. That's great. Well, welcome back here, and congratulations on the induction with Alice, and thank you so much for all your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. Have a great week in Cool Cleveland.